Sri Lanka Telecom is proud to be the pioneer in bridging digital worlds for more than 160 years with an uninterrupted service as the national telecommunications service provider. Following the company vision, SLT delivers seamless, innovative and exciting services for over millions of customers around the country with passion and dedication. SLT broadens its horizons by instigating an array of intelligent solutions aiming at local businesses, aiding country's business sector to reach the global arena by fulfilling their key demands with comprehensive, secure and hassle-free solutions with pay-as-you-grow investment models. SLT Business Solutions provide comprehensive communication solutions, structured cabling, data solutions, surveillance solutions, automation solutions, digital marketing solutions, software solutions. Welcome to Sri Lanka Telecom, where you can redefine your business story with comprehensive, secure and hassle-free business solutions.
මේ පොත් එක්ක පාඩම් කළා පන්තියේ දක්ෂයෙක් වෙන්න බෑ. මේ පැත්තෙන් ලිව්වම මේ පැත්තෙන් පේනවා.
එහෙම නැති පොතක් දුන්නොත්
කියවන්නත් ලේසි. හොඳ පොතක් වෙන්න ඕනේ.
ඒ කිව්වේ මේ වගේ පොතක්ද?
ඇට්ලස්?
ඔව්. හොඳම පොතද අලුත් වෙලා. තීන්ත අනිත් පැත්තට නොයන නිසා ලියන්නත් පහසු පැහැදිලි පිටු නිසා කියවන්නත් පහසු ඇට්ලස් අභ්‍යාස පොත්. ඇට්ලස් සතුටින් ඉගෙන ගන්න.
We are fast moving, crave innovation, and in the era of digital disruption, no longer is there room for gut feelings and intuition. Gauging the future, knowing it's going to be right, there's a need to simulate the environment and know the what ifs. There's a need for data decoded, scrutinized, analyzed, and put forward. From descriptive to diagnostic, to predictive to prescriptive, all of it. It's the D3M we're looking at, data-driven decision making. We have heard big data and business intelligence, but why not combine it with your greatest asset, your people? The next gen does not wait. We need things on the go. We reach all engagement avenues and language is a barrier no more. As we witness the service tsunami and say hello to the gig economy, it's not fiction to have dashboards that show your stats right in front of you. For those millennial CEOs, it's time that you know who are your top performers, who is at the risk of leaving, the answers to all your whats, whos and whys. We need access to data and information at our fingertips and don't have time for the monotonous. From mobile apps, kiosks, chatbots and enterprise social networks, everything is easy and clicked on the go. We grew with IoT and RFID simply redefined tracking and access. Why take our word when we can talk numbers? Predictive analytics gives you over 85% accuracy in your future decisions. RPA gives you 80% cost reduction and that's just a glimpse. Happiness is key. We want happy employees and know what exactly makes them happy. Why be easy when dealing with the ones that take your business in their hands, the heart of your organization? We, the new gen, give prominence to performance and growth and plan towards individual development. With 1,200 clients in over 18 industries across 35 plus countries. Continuous excellence in configurations, extensions, collaborations, localizations and personalizations as we mold indigenous multinationals. Allowing you to feel the pulse of your organization, we bring to you People's HR Neon, the spark to your HR disruption. So with new values that bind us beyond a transaction. Sampath Bank.
Ayubowan, welcome, vanakkam. Good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. The famous American author Martha Becker once stated, "Any deep crisis is an opportunity to make your life extraordinary in some way." When you really do give it a thought, we do get convinced how true and relevant that statement is in multiple contexts. Having experienced an unforeseen worldwide crisis some time back, we have witnessed the rise and fall of many nations. Where the business sector and the government sector were concerned, we have also experienced that some organizations failed to keep up the momentum, while some others were extremely successful in harnessing the crisis to face this challenge. So, as the saying goes, that every dark cloud has a silver lining, these hard times triggered the resilience of these organizations and made them strong enough to lead them along a road to recovery. So, ladies and gentlemen, the idea behind ICBM and the Business Forum has been this. So we extend a very warm welcome to our Vice Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, all our corporate invitees and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, to all of you who are here to join hands with us in this journey forward. So, we are looking forward to an exciting few hours in the next couple of minutes, and also we have to mention that the idea behind the International Conference on Business Management 2022 and the Business Forum 2022 was that we wanted to take an initiative in disseminating knowledge regarding crisis management in terms of how the post-pandemic recovery was operationalized in multiple sectors in Sri Lanka. So one part of this was done in terms of compiling a collection of case studies which told the stories of post-pandemic recovery pertaining to 7 organizations in Sri Lanka. The second part of this exercise is about to kickstart in a little while on this stage in the form of this industry forum, where we thought that it's best to assemble a few sectors in Sri Lanka which have experienced a pandemic-triggered economic crisis in multiple scales. So to do this today, we are joining hands with the banking sector, tea plantations, construction, software development, government, and the academia as well. So ladies and gentlemen, no need to reiterate that we are certainly looking forward to a fruitful and fulfilling discussion. So with that note, without further ado, in order to officially start the proceedings of today's agenda, may I please invite all of you to rise for the university anthem.
Sri Lanka Pindarandirani Srinivasa Mahaganagari Sri Jayavardhana Pura Sarasari Sri Namaya Raghavam Lomuduni Graduate Sri Sumagul Samidun Deliviti Sorat Bandu Yatinun Vigalavi Yodaya Vidudimarun Delien Dini Magasarasau Sri Lanka Pindarandirani Srinivasa Mahaganagari Sri Jayavardhana Pura Sarasali Sri Namaya Raghavam Lomuduni Ayuktiyedi Vivadashi Asatyayedi Vicharashi Iyat Sabhanaka Samadashi Diyatun Idaya Mogalau Sri Lanka Pindarandirani Srinivasa Mahaganagari Sri Jayavardhana Pura Sarasari Sri Namaya Raghavam Lomuduni
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, after a successful first day of the conference, here we are assembling for the second day of the conference, which features the flagship event of the 19th International Conference on Business Management, ICBM 2022. So to officially welcome this distinguished gathering, first and foremost, my most honored invitation goes out to Dr. Janaka Fernando, the co-chair of ICBM 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please give a big round of applause.
Thank you very much, Sanduni. Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Sudhanta Liyanage, Dean, Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, Dr. Professor P.D. Nimal, and the special guest here, especially from the industry. So it's a great day here, especially after having 2 years of online version of this event, Industry Forum. So this year we had a chance to change it and go for a hybrid version and mostly with physical participants. So if we look at the agenda of this ICBM 2020, as Sandhani mentioned, we have 3 key elements of the international conference. So we had a research session yesterday. We had 50 plus academic papers, and today morning we had a PhD colloquium. We had 9 PhD progress presentations, and now we're going to have a discussion on special case studies jointly developed by academics of our faculty and the industry. For me, this is the most important part of the conference. The reason is we as academics always do research, and we keep our research finding with us, but rarely we share our knowledge with the policymakers or the industry. From last year onward, we decided to change this and collaborate with the industry. So this is a kind of good example for industry-university collaborations. So we have developed 7 case studies with the support of the industry and co-authored by industry people. And what we are going to do with these case studies, we are going to use these case studies in our future teaching. So in a way, what we can do, we can combine practices, you may call best practices in the industry, and the theoretical knowledge we're having. Sometime we may be able to come up with optimum solution for the business problems, and maybe for the academics we can rethink whether the theories we discuss in the class are really working in the practice or not. So let me warmly welcome the gathering here. So we have our Vice Chancellor, our key pillar of the success, our Senior Professor Sudhanta Liyanage. Sir, I warmly welcome you, and Professor P.D. Nimal, Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce. And also importantly, I want to highlight, we have Dr. Lalit Veragoda, Group Chief Human Resource Officer, Sampath Bank PLC. We warmly welcome you, sir, and thank you very much for the contribution to develop case study on Sampath Bank. And then we have Mr. Rohan C. Tisarachi, Director, Dilma Ceylon Tea Company. So we have developed a nice case study on Dilma as well. In a minute, you can listen to these stories. And then we have Ms. Lal Veerasinghe, Director, Port Operations, Sri Lanka Port Authority. So usually when we talk about the case studies, it's very difficult to do case studies on state-owned enterprises or the government organizations. But with their support, we have come up with a case study on Port Authority. So we welcome you, sir, for the conference. And Mr. Namal Piris, Chief Executive Officer, International Construction Consortium. So we welcome you, sir. And also Mr. Sampath Jayasundara, Chief Executive Officer and an Executive Director of Senate Business Solutions PLC. So I had the privilege to work with him and develop the Senate case study. So we welcome you. And also, in addition to these industry case studies, we decided to share our experience as the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, how we address challenges faced by the faculty as academic organizations during last 2 years. So to present that case study, we have invited Professor MHA Sisir Kumar, Professor of Economics from the Department of Public Administrations. And also we have our moderator, Dr. Dushan Jayavakram from the Department of Marketing Management. In addition to that, we know we have invited some alumni members for this event. So we welcome all the alumni members and also other academics and all the other participants. You are going to witness a different experience. These are not going to be pure academic papers, maybe not pure business case studies, a blend of this. So I invite you all to enjoy the next couple of hours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, like Dr. Janaka Fernando mentioned just a little while ago, one of the key outputs of the Business Forum was the production of this collection of case studies. But rather than me talking about it, I thought of inviting someone else who can tell you a lot more about this case study publication. With that, my next invitation goes to Professor Sumudu Pereira, the coordinator of Business Forum. Madam, over to you.
Very good evening to all of you. Dear distinguished invitees, I being the coordinator of the Business Forum of ICBM 2022, now going to pre-release the case study book published under the theme of Surviving Through Adversities, a compendium of Sri Lankan case studies in management as a part of the 19th International Conference on Business Management, ICBM 2022, organized by the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. Having considered the efforts and the contribution made by our academic staff and the industry representatives in the field of management in formulating this case study book, I stand here today with a great pride as a member of the editorial of the same. This is yet another significant movement of ICBM, which facilitates people to learn the body of knowledge we call management and then apply it to their business organizations. The case study book consists of 7 stories of different public and private sector organizations which typically provide wide range of evidence about their business situations in questions, the problems encountered during the pandemic, how they were approached and the results achieved. I am pleased to inform you that this case study book has been accepted to publish by an international publisher called Noah Science Publisher Incorporation, New York in USA. So I would like to take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all authors in the 7 case study teams and the representatives of the 7 organizations for their untiring effort in writing the case studies. So dear ladies and gentlemen, Without taking much time, now I would like to pre-release the case study book, which is now under the production with Nova Science Publications, New York. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. So the context of these case studies will be rebuilt once again in this discussion, ladies and gentlemen. So with that note, for the much awaited main element of tonight, the industry dialogue. So without further ado, let me introduce to you who these eminent panel members will be. First up, we have Dr. Lalit Veragoda, the Chief Human Resources Officer of Sampath Bank PLC. He obtained his Bachelor of Science Special Degree from the University of Ruhuna and earned his Master of Business Administration degree from the Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. He has completed his PhD in Human Resource Management from the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. In 2017, he was awarded the prestigious IPM Sri Lanka HR Leader in Industrial Employee Relations by the Institute of Personnel Management, Sri Lanka, and he was awarded the Young HR Minds Award by the Institute of Personnel Management, Sri Lanka. He has published a number of research papers in human resource management, life success, business ethics in international and local journals. He is a regular member of the faculties of several national and international universities. Dr. Veragoda also serves as a member of the governing board of the Institute of Bankers, Sri Lanka, and a member of the steering committee on people development of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Sri Lanka. Counting over 30 years of experience in human resource management at a strategic level in local and multinational organizations, he currently serves as the Chief Human Resource Officer at Sampath Bank PLC, overseeing the careers of over 4,000 employees. Sir, my most distinguished invitation goes out to you to first up, please take your seat on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round. Joining Dr. Veragoda, we next have Mr. Roshan Tissarachi, Director of Dilma Ceylon Tea Company. Mr. Tissarachi is a graduate of the University of Colombo and a Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, UK. He also has an MBA from the Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. He has over 30 years of working experience in all aspects of sales and marketing in a number of industries and also in advertising. He has now completed 24 years of international marketing with Dilma Tea. Mr. Roshanthi Tissarachi is currently the Director of Dilma Ceylon Tea Company, PLC of the MJF Group. He is also a Director of MJF Exports Limited and MJF Beverages Private Limited. He currently overlooks marketing and export sales, including brand marketing, digital marketing, F&B unit, and in addition is the director in charge of logistics, customer service, and tea buying departments. So why don't you join him on the stage as well? Coming up next, we have Mr. Lal Veerasinghe, Director Port Operations of Sri Lanka Ports Authority. Mr. Veerasinghe joined the SLPA as a management trainee in 1994 after completing BSc degree in Business Administration from University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, Sri Lanka. In addition to his first degree, he is also a LLB Honours UK graduate and completed his postgraduate education in shipping and port management from Norwegian Shipping Academy, Oslo. Further, he has also completed his master's degree in management from National University of Ireland. Mr. Veerasinghe is currently the director responsible for the overall operations and management of all the terminals and quays, including the Port of Galle, Port of Trincomalee and Port of KKS in Northern Province under the purview of Sri Lanka Ports Authority. Dear sir, it is with much honor that I invite you to please take your position on the stage. My next distinguished invitation, ladies and gentlemen, goes out to Mr. Namal Piris, Chief Executive Officer, International Construction Consortium. As a chartered civil engineer, Mr. Piris holds a BSc Engineering and Civil Engineering MIE Sri Lanka from the University of Moratuwa and an MBA from the University of Colombo. Taking over as the CEO from 2006, Mr. Piris started his career with the International Construction Consortium ICC, which specializes in building and civil engineering contracting with reputation for construction excellence both locally and internationally with over 30 years of experience. His career with ICC started as early as 1988. Drawing from his former experience working for multinational construction companies both in Sri Lanka and Oman, he has continued to contribute greatly to the company's success. Mr. Namal, we are indeed honored to have you here with us today. We cordially invite you to please step forward and take your seat. Joining him on stage, we have next Mr. Sampath Jayasundara, the Chief Executive Officer and an Executive Director of Zenith Business Solutions Limited. Mr. Jayasundara holds a BSc degree and postgraduate diploma in Computer Science from the University of Colombo and an MBA from the Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. He also serves as a lecture panel member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Sri Lanka and a lecturer at the Open University of Sri Lanka, Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, Institute of Human Resources Advancements and Finance Management Faculty of the University of Colombo for postgraduate studies. He is the Chief Executive Officer and an Executive Director of Zenith Business Solutions Limited. With over 20 years of experience in the ICT industry, he is also the co-founder and director of Pioneer Institute of Business and Technology Private Limited, an institute offering IT, law and business degree programs in affiliation with the University of Greenwich, UK. He serves as a director at SLASCOM, the industry chamber for the IT BPO industry, and is a member of the advisory committee of the ICT BPM sector of the Export Development Board. Sir, your seat is waiting for you on stage. Next up, joining them on stage, we have our very own Professor Sisira Kumara. Professor Ajanta Sisira Kumara is currently attached to the Department of Public Administration, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, as a professor in public economics. He received his PhD in public economics in 2011 from the National Graduate Institute of Policy Studies, Tokyo in 2000. In 2004, he joined the Department of Public Administration, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, where he served as head of the department from 2012 to 2015. Dr. Sisira Kumara has been involved in many collaborative research projects funded by the Australian government. In 2014, he was awarded the Australia Award Fellowship to conduct research on patterns, determinants, and consequences of out-of-pocket healthcare expenditure of Sri Lankan households, which was hosted by the Monash University, Australia. He was also awarded the Endeavour Postdoctoral Research Fellowship by the Australian government in 2018 to continue research work at the same university. He has published the research outcome of those projects in reputed refereed academic journals. One of his research papers, published in the Journal of Social Science and Medicine, won the President's Award in 2019 at the ceremony of President's Award for Science Research organized by the National Research Council of Sri Lanka. Sir, it is with much pride that we invite you to please take your seat on the stage. Next up, we have a very important one more empty seat to fill. This goes out to none other than our very own, very humble, loved by everyone, Dr. Dushanjay Vikrama, Senior Lecturer of the Department of Marketing Management, who refused to have any sort of introductions about him other than that. So I will let his actions and words speak for itself rather than having a profile, sir. It is with much honor that we invite you. Gentlemen, I would like to hand over the session from this point onwards to you. Thank you very much.
Good evening, distinguished panelists, members of the audience. In this evening, as the same said by the previous speakers, we are going to be exploring insights of the 6 narratives we have jointly together in the form of case studies. As Dr. Janaka mentioned, we have a key purpose of developing these case studies, that is to facilitate undergraduate and postgraduate education in order to theorize some of the best practices that we have learned from your different organizations, different industries. And also to give some new thoughts for our researchers to conduct their research studies. In this session, what I would like to do is to have this discussion at 3 different rounds. In the first round, each speaker will be sharing about key insights that you have shared in the case studies in terms of how you have understood, interpreted the challenges in the post-COVID and in economic crisis situation in the country. And in the second round, we would like to have a deep discussion as to how your organizations and broad industries that you represent approach these common issues and the organizational specific issues. In the third round, we will have brief discussion about the way forward. From the lessons learned, how you have started discussions within your organizations and the way forward as you have planned. If the time permits, at last, I'd like to take few questions from the audience based on the discussions we develop here. So with that introduction, let me start the discussion by asking my first questions from Dr. Lalit Veragoda. Sampath Bank being a top tier banking institution in Sri Lanka, with a customer base exceeding 3 million and total assets of about 1.2 trillion, I'm sure would have had severe tension both during the COVID challenging period and also in the current economic condition. I'd like you to focus deeply on the issues you have encountered as a banking institute, how your organization has interpreted those before you take any decisions.
Thank you, Aibowan. Thank you very much this opportunity given for my organization. So first let me give a very brief introduction about Sampath Bank. Sampath Bank is recognized as a trendsetter in banking industry in Sri Lanka. And during our 3.5 decades history, if you study compared with our peer competitors, we reach 1 billion asset target within 35 years, where our competitors took over 100 years to achieve this target. This reflects our resilience, power of our strategy. At the same time, you can see we are consecutively 8 years recognized as the best commercial bank and best retail bank in Sri Lanka. Those three parameters reflect our economic standards and our sustainability and our resilience. So in the pandemic and the post-pandemic situation, I would like to stress you few areas where we face. Number one, as there are a number of academics here, I want to introduce my organization from different view. Now, there are two types of organizations. One type of organization is they are facing challenge, existing crisis situation and somehow manage the current situation and successful. Second type of the organization is while you are managing current crisis, you prepare for the future. So I would like to introduce Sampath as a second type organization. We consider this crisis situation as an opportunity for us to perform and build as a new organization. And I think this concept is developed in now 1990s by Tushman and Mitex organization. So our 35 years history reflect that we are a different organization. We manage crises while preparing for the future. As an example, every year we introduce one innovative breakthrough product for the industry. And while we are maintaining our edge, right, we are continuously working our new product line and we are introducing different products for the industry for targeting different market segments. So number one issue we face actually business continuity. Banking is essential service. And number one issue we face, how we can ensure business continuity. It's not easy. Number two, actually you know that especially this COVID and ongoing economic issues seriously affected for all the sectors, especially for the SME sector and tourism sector. So our number one issue we face, non-performing, how you can ensure our lending quality, lending portfolio. That is one of the biggest issue we face. And number two is our team. We want to ensure their well-being, we need to ensure their safety, and we need to ensure their retention. That is the number two critical issue we face. Number three, there was a situation that customers are reluctant to come to bank. How you can ensure their engagement with the banking and how we can help them. Number four, as a responsible organization, how we can help for the community, right, to ensure bounce back from this situation and how we can bring in their life into the existing situation. So those are the challenges we face. I think we manage all very successfully. At the same time, at the end of the crisis, we are in the process of developing and coming as a different organization for Sri Lanka.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Veragoda. I think in your elaboration, it was quite clear that Sampath Bank was trying to sort of be identified as an organization that is learning through the experience and preparing for the future. And in terms of the challenges, you highlighted three things: business continuity, well-being of the team, and also how to engage customers through or from a distance mode. And Dilma being sort of Sri Lankan organization which has wide global penetration, the only, I think, the Sri Lankan brand which went to the global market for the first time would have had similar experiences in terms of business continuity, in terms of engaging with stakeholders, and also being an organization in the beverage and food and beverage industry. Your value chain is very extensive. So I'd like you to focus on Mr. Roshan, how you experience and interpret the challenges in both crises we have had. Yes, you can use the PowerPoints.
One cannot talk about Ceylon tea or international branding or the Dilma story without reference to the founder of Dilma, who I have had the pleasure, privilege and honor of working for the last 25 years. And it was so ironical that this person from a small village called Pallansena in Kochikade, Nigambo, has now taken a Sri Lankan-owned brand across the world. When the pandemic hit, Mr. Fernando was celebrating his 90th birthday. And I can remember celebrating his birthday through a online international tea party. He normally likes to celebrate his birthday in a more physical presence. And when I did meet him, I asked him a very important question. How do we manage? What do you think should do? Because we've just been discussing our new initiatives. And he told me one thing. He said, Roshan, when I built my brand, Sri Lanka was in a massive crisis. Many of the young people may not remember, if we take our history back, we did have a crisis or an epidemic of a different sort. And it was during this crisis that Manager Fernando built Dilma Tea and took it globally. So he said, if you believe in something, then whatever the consequences, our human brains can find a solution. Can I please have the next slide? Thank you. I can operate it from here. The brand Dilma, very briefly, is built on three important pillars. The pillar of taste, which is very much indebted to this country, to the earth, the wind, the rain, and the mountains, and the people who grow this wonderful product called tea. Ceylon tea has no match anywhere in the world. And if you ask anyone, or you ask Mr. Merrill J. Fernando today after 70 years in tea, what was his success? He says it is Ceylon tea. And our first pillar is about the taste. Tea is a product of nature. It has all the goodness of antioxidants which the scientists in this audience will know. And that is our second pillar. And the third pillar is a pillar that we built and built it very much stronger in the last few years, is the purpose. A purpose that Mr. Fernando visioned and established, saying business is a matter of human service. 15% of all the company's profits go to the Merrill J. Fernando Charitable Foundation and Dilma Conservation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very humbled to say that today the Dilma brand is available in over 103 countries across the globe. We are not the biggest brand by any way, but we are very proud to say that our brand is quite well distributed across the different regions. When the pandemic hit, we had to question every single initiative of our operations. Because not only did the pandemic hit us at home, but it did hit us right across the world. And one of the areas that we had to embrace was to look at technology. Look at technology at every aspect of our business. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the tea tasting, which many of you might know and will remember has been the core of a tea company's business. And the tea auctions, which was a 150-year-old industry, went online for the first time during the pandemic. And certainly did help us as a country to keep our export earnings alive. A very important factor, Dr. Dushan, we realized was that with the hitting of the pandemic, that more than anything, we had to re-engineer the mindset of not only our humble factory workers, our management staff, but also the entire Dilma marketing and distribution network across the globe, which meant trying to change the mindset of our team in Australia, New Zealand, in the Baltic states, in Africa. And this became a very strong challenge, which we took on as a very important element of our re-engineering process. We did work at that point on a hybrid model, but now we are a little old-fashioned. We believe that face-to-face is the best. After all, our factory workers came every single day to work. The plantations, in every single plantation, they were plucking tea, they were producing tea. And therefore, we are now back to daily work from the office. As much as all of the other companies, we did have the various post-pandemic initiatives. And I'm sure this is practiced by most companies. But one very important aspect that we spent time and money is to obviously look after our people. From the plantations to the humble factory worker, we did make every effort to offer packages of support, in addition to all the health and safety guidelines that one had to follow, particularly as a food product. We did have China, of all people, asking us whether there's contamination on our tea boxes. But that was the reality. When Mr. Merrill J. Fernando briefed the board on the pandemic, he gave us two very strong messages. He told us no single employee should be laid off and no pay cuts. You guys go back and work and see how we are going to achieve this. And that was a challenge that management, senior management, middle management had to work through. And this was extended to our international network as well. In terms of the external environment, we had to make some very radical changes. We had to shift to a B2C or D2C model now, because B2B nearly crashed when most of our hospitality customers, the international airlines that served Dilma, they all came to zero. And we had to re-engineer our internal e-commerce operations, our external e-commerce operations, change our platforms, and stop talking to the consumer direct. And we had to do this with every single country over a period of time. We have a team of international officers and partners who we call distributors. They are really partners. Came the pandemic and we are talking to them more now, because there was Teams meetings and Zoom meetings, and even with buyers. And technology was embraced to engage as much as we can, and as I mentioned earlier, to change mindsets, which was very important. In terms of the final consumer, we saw three different important research learnings. And fortunately for us, at this point, research was coming out pretty fast because people were at home, all logging into online research. Easy to send samples, people had time. And one very important feedback was that they were looking for healthy products. Thank God we were selling tea. The second point that came out was that people being at home, they were now researching more and willing to pay a little bit more because they didn't have much to spend outside. And therefore, we saw an increase in demand on what we call the luxury segment. And third, with this whole environment changing, we had number of letters, emails, feedback on our e-commerce sites, questioning us on our sustainability projects and whether the brand is sustainable, because suddenly consumers had time to think about the environment. So, ladies and gentlemen, we had no choice. We had to react and we had to respond. And that's what we did with some of the products that we launched to cater to those three segments. I must at this point give gratitude to our factory worker teams. We have a team of about 140 in engineering. We have about 600 in the factory, even though we are fairly automated. And this taught us to be more automated than we were before. We now have a few robotic machines coming in online to also engineer the mindset as people on the factory level floor had to understand all what was going on. And we really thank our factory teams who came to work every single day. We never delayed a single container of Dilma tea to any country. And this because of the people you see on the screen. I'd like to just end with two slides if you don't mind, Doctor. This is the theme that we have in terms of the purpose of our brand. We are Merrill J. Fernando, and there you see his son Dilhan, who is now our CEO of the tea companies. And apart from the factory workforce, we have a brief to touch 10,000 lives through our Merrill J. Fernando Charitable Foundation. And all these activities continued as much as possible. And that was a learning that we took. Just to end my first few minutes on a positive note, whatever we have done and we are doing is never enough, but we are well on the way to reach the levels of pre-COVID. So I think there has been some very good learnings. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Sarachi. I think your story kind of elaborates on how you approach this issue reflectively, with a purpose and with a clear vision coming from the founder of the organization. So in the next round, I think we can have more clear idea on how some of these specific strategies were put in place. And next, I'd like to invite Mr. Lal Veerasinghe, who is playing a leading role in the state sector organization, the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, which has quite different organizational structure setting in terms of navigating the organization through a situation like this. So, Mr. Veerasinghe, if you can please elaborate on how your organization sort of understood and realized the challenges in both post-COVID and economic crisis situation.
Thank you. Very happy to represent my organization and very happy to be here after exactly 30 years of my graduation from here. Actually, the Ports Authority is one of the strategic enterprises that government is having. Out of that also, we can proudly say that it is one of the organizations that is in the international trade. We are earning a lot of foreign exchange and at the same time contributing to the government coffers. For example, within this year, we have contributed 1 billion. Because the Treasury has requested 1 billion from our chairman, and we honored that. So that is that type of very sound financial base that we are having. So that also help us to navigate through this crisis situation as well. So the strong three pillars that we are having, the SLPA, we call it as Sri Lanka Ports Authority, SLPA, widely known internationally as well as locally. One is the strong human resource that we have, because thanks to our forefathers, we have had a very good human resource development plan, and one of the outcomes of that aspect actually. That is number one. Number two is the strong financial background that we are having, because although government has invested money like the other organizations, but our organization was able to have a very good financial management, and this earning as well as developing, using our own funds to develop our own terminals, expand our quays and capacities and all that. For example, the new East terminal that we are planning to have, that we have already embarked on, is $480 million. That is a self-funded. In this crisis situation, there is no possibility of getting any financial assistance or loan from one of the lending agencies. Formerly we used to have from JICA, from JAL terminal and all that, but now we can't have. So situation is bad to us because we saved a lot of money, $300 million over the years for this investment. But unfortunately, when we went to ask him for that money from BOC, only to find that it was only a book entry, because no hard currency but only a book entry. So they were helping us and in turn forcing us to go our own way, finding our own money, own generated money. So we have to happily say that within the course of this year, we were able to spend 87 million US dollars up to now by earning our own money by port operations. So we are gradually honoring our commitments for our contractors and the purchasing of new cranes and all that. So all these things happen just after, just at the end of these crisis situations. It means pandemic is created havoc because it's a complex organization, Ports Authority employing about 9,000 people. When we joined the port, of course, before and 20 to 8 years back, 94, it was around 90,000 employees. Now it has gone downsized to 9,000. You can see with automation and the mechanization and the new containerization and all that force, that is, that we have learned all these levels, technological and employment, right? So it's at work actually. So, but still people are happy because productivity has immensely increased. Pandemic situation, when we go back to pandemic situation, how we were able to come up. So it was actually the shared leadership, because we have had good leaders as managers and leaders all. At the same time, the cooperation that we have got from our unions and the employees in general, unions in particular, and the support we get from the government as well. We have to give credit to government because Department of Health, the port health officers and all that, all the helping us a lot. At the same time, the teamwork we have nicely operated within the port. We have had a COVID committee comprising of Director General of Health, our directors and different sector directors. As within the port, there are some other organizations competing and complementing each other, like private terminals. I am representing the Ports Authority terminals, whereas SAGT, the John Keells operated terminal, then the CICT, that is Chinese, all PPB, we are also shareholders, but it's a privately operated terminal. All has to work together, because in the port, there are two types of activities are happening in any port in the world, just for the sake of the people who just don't know about this port business. One is a gateway function. We have to operate as a gateway port, that is facilitate import and export. So if you heard that word, gateway means mainly facilitating domestic trade. So other one is the transshipment trade, that is a hub port concept comes with the hub, is a center, right? We are connecting different ports. So Port of Colombo, the 80% of what we handle is transshipment cargo. That's why we call it, we are proudly maintaining as a hub port in the South Asia. So 20% domestic trade. So we had the challenge of facilitating domestic trade because of pandemic, people are not coming for work. I mean, even people don't have money to clear the goods. At the same time, some ships are reluctant to come, and our guys are, they are reluctant to go on board the ships, because we have to preserve the port from about 4 or 5 areas. One from the ship itself. Why? The pandemic can be landed through the ship itself. So we have to safeguard that aspect. The pandemic can come from outside the gates also, from within the country. So that aspect has to be safeguarded. So there can be exchanges of COVID also between the terminals and the people. So that we have to stop. So the other thing is we have to safeguard children and those who are at home. We have all fathers and mothers. That is the main challenge that we have. People are coming and just complaining, sir, we can come. But when we go home, if this spread to our house, who is going to safeguard our people? They know, the most vulnerable group was very old, ladies and gentlemen. So that aspect was, that was a very real challenge. There had been a time when one person got, infected, and we had regular tests. Because of committee also we have a plan of testing different areas, it was a continuous process. So when we were able to find somebody, then all the same category operators come down and flock to the same place. But that is the most risky thing. coming together. They used to be in different planes, but they all come to the same place to get themselves infected. So that type of attitude was there at the very beginning. So they should be at their own places, no isolated places, so there won't be any problem. But so that is how we started, and later we were able to convince them, and we didn't want to meet the two shifts. So then we were having a very strong negotiation with the unions. These guys, they don't even like to work a few hours more. That was the attitude that they have had. They are, very strong unions. But we were able to negotiate and have a 14 days continuous shift. Can you just imagine? Port workers, the hard, tough people who sacrifice, they don't want to go home. Because they also, we convince them, if you go home, there's a risk. But before you go home, we will have a COVID test and we will clear you and then we will allow you to go home. So they were very happy to. So then obviously, there will be some additional expenses. We have to feed them all three. We are doing meals for working hours, but we have to give meals for all three. And they don't want to have port meal also. Then we were forced to give some GOH or some hotel meals for at least one time. So we have to give all three. So that type of investments, we always feel that it was worthwhile, because if not for those strategies and the timely intervention that we have done, today I won't be here to speak to you, because then there will be we would not have been able to maintain the hub status. Some of the shipping lines must have already gone looking for better places. So we continue these the other strategies and all that later stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lalveer Singha, for bringing in that interesting story of a very complex operation within one premises, which sort of gives us sort of a different picture compared to the other two narratives we have heard. And now I'd like to move on to an interesting story coming from the construction industry, the experience of ICC. Mr. Amal Piris, how your industry sort of felt the tension of COVID and the situation afterwards?
So, good evening, everyone. So first of all, I'll give you a bit of a insight into our industry, because it is quite different to the industries which we were talking about. We are into building or constructing of buildings. We are into construction of roads, infrastructure, and all our operations are project based. Today, one of our teams will be putting up a big building in Colombo, but in 1 year's time, they will shift to another place, doing a road or a dam or a water supply project. So it was a project type of operation where the conditions and the context differ time to time. So we are into that, and we are one of the leading construction and engineering organizations in Sri Lanka. So according to the government regulation body, there are different grades. So we are one of the construction companies which is in the highest grade of CS2. So we have 1,200 permanent employees and another 1,200 of outsourced employees. So we do construction in Sri Lanka as well as overseas, mainly in Maldives and few in Middle East. So in our tagline or in our theme, what we say is we are committed to provide the quality service on time and at an affordable price. So we have been having that tagline in our minds and in all our people, and at the same time we do everything to improve the quality of life of our people. So we work, the entire staff, all our workforce work to provide the quality service to our customers and to provide that service on time and at an affordable price, and we do business to improve the quality of life of our people. So that has been driven into everyone, and we have been turning around about 25 billion rupees a year. And initially we started 40 years ago as a building construction company, and then diversified into infrastructure development, then into highway and road construction. Then we integrated upwards into property development. So we have our own properties. We develop properties as condominiums. We have service apartments, and we integrated backwards to produce all our raw materials and construction materials like precast concrete, where the building is made in building components are made in a factory, and you bring it and assemble them to form a building or a structure. And we are the leading or one of the most recognized precast construction company in Sri Lanka. So we diversified and we integrated our entire system so that we can be the most respected construction company in Sri Lanka. So when I come to the challenges we faced during the COVID, I wish to break this COVID crisis period into three. We had the initial period which was a shock, a real shock, and we didn't know what to do. Then the intermediate period where the certain areas were opened up, whereas certain areas were closed. And the third phase, everyone thought that we are out of COVID, but still COVID was coming up and subsiding time to time. So challenges we faced during the three phases were different. Initially, we were really concerned about the health of our people. So initial effort was to make sure that information is gathered about each and every employee and his health, his or her health condition. So we had to develop a mechanism to gather information relating to their health. Then, as you know, the COVID struck and we went for the first lockdown on the 17th of March. In construction industry, we have staff, we have engineers, and we have other technical people, and most of our workforce is from rural areas. They have come to Sri Lanka to work in construction sites. So New Year break is a big thing for them. They take the break for 2 weeks, and every construction company, not only us, we make sure that we send them happy home for New Year. So suddenly, when the New Year was so close, the country was locked down. So we were in a real, in a difficult situation to see how we are going to pay them and how we are going to love them that they can meet their necessities during the New Year. So that was the second challenge. So then when it was going towards May, June, then parts of the country were opened up, but the Colombo was closed. But then what happened was all outstation sites we started, because we had to look at our sustenance of business. Because for short term, with our reserves and with whatever we have, we can feed our people, but we can't do it forever. So the first step, after addressing the first priority, then we were looking at now are we going to do it continuously, or how are we going to? So we wanted to start operations. So we started operations in the outstations, but when the Colombo was closed, so still we had to feed the sites, we had to send them raw materials, we had to send them their requirements, so that was another challenge. Then it came to beyond August, September, then everyone thought COVID was under control, and certain remarks went on that we were the people who did the best and who controlled the COVID best, but again it came up here and there. So in those days, if you all can remember, if a patient or if quite number of infected people are identified, the particular site or the project or the institution was closed. So that is something we didn't want to have. We didn't want any of our operations to be closed because of COVID, because we knew unless we continue with our operations, we can't look after our people, and we can't serve our customers, and we can't deliver what we have promised to deliver. So then we had different types of challenges to have people in workplace, but to make sure they don't, their interactions are limited so that the pandemic won't get spreaded within the units so that the units will come to a standstill. So that is a different challenge. And while working in such a scenario, so people were kept apart from each type of trade. People of one trade was kept separately from another trade. Then the productivity dropped because all these are interrelated activities. So how to handle that? So that was another challenge. While doing all that, I mean, as an organization, we had an annual business plan, right, which was put forward at the end of March. So how are we going to be on the plan, and what we are going to do with the plan? What are the things? So that was the other challenge. So let's say in the next round, I will say how we handle those situations and what are the things we did. And suddenly and quietly we were getting on and coming out of the issue, and before we fully recovered, the economic and social crisis hit us. I think the COVID crisis, everyone was united. We faced the COVID crisis with some positive mode, positive attitude. We knew that it is no one's fault, it is a nature, we have to face with that. So, I mean, we can't put the blame on anyone, but we have to face. So, everyone was together and fighting in a positive mode. But the economic crisis was not that. It was different.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Namal. You are bringing in a very interesting insight here. In initial period, we sort of united because we kind of concluded that this is not a man-made disaster. But then there is sort of other things happening in the society which people sort of attribute it to other socio-political picture of the country. So with that, I think I'd like to invite Mr. Sampath Jayasundara to elaborate your story very briefly at this round. How an industry where physical presence of the human being is not that essential to develop software solutions experience the COVID related challenges.
Thank you, Doctor. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us to be part of this whole exercise. So this is not a new place for me personally as well. So I'll start with like quick introduction to the company. So we are a local multinational. We start, our roots are here in Sri Lanka. 100% development activities till 2022 early parts happens in Sri Lanka. But we are operating globally. R&D center is in Colombo and head office also in Colombo. We have Singapore office, and then Singapore office did the investment to Australia. So we have a Sydney-based company, and then we did an investment somewhere around 2012-13 period to Indian market. So we have office in India, and then we have operation in East African region. So as a company, we are positioned in Asia Pacific region as well as MEA region, Middle East and Africa, servicing from Colombo. Our even 24/7 support centers are based in Colombo. So we have customers right now, over 1,400 customers in 40 countries in these two regions I mentioned. So the challenge was, as soon as we moved to COVID, servicing our client base in 40 countries. So that is very challenging, because operating from Colombo, and obviously connectivity is what is very critical. Work from home is not a very new thing for us, so whenever people request, we allow them to work from home. Assume your parents are not well, your spouse is not well, so you can take a weekend, you can work from home, because what you need is a laptop and connectivity and a proper a place to stay, because IT guys, when you are doing development work, less disturbance is their preference. So moving to work from home is so easy. So immediately we announced very next day onwards, take your laptop, go home, start working from home, because people were in boarding places in Colombo, so immediately we had to ask them to go home and start finding mechanism to start working from a very next week. Then the challenge was actually we are in a growing space. So IT industry is growing somehow, and COVID opened new opportunities to IT industry. If you really look at if you look at the global statistics, IT industry grew during last 3 years as well. Even my workforce, I had roughly 200 people beginning of COVID. Now I have 350 engineers directly working with me, so it is almost double workforce. So one of the bigger challenge actually training, because when you recruit new engineers and when these engineers are at home, so how to train these guys, because if you are at office, so you work with them and it's an easy journey, so you can guide them, and all these guys are from local and private sector universities, they know each other, so it's so helpful. But when it comes to working from home, you are alone, and sometimes you get stuck with what you are doing, and very difficult for you to allocate some time to connect with another guy and support. So we have to change our technology infrastructure, move into different platforms, like simple example, Microsoft DevOps practices. So where the senior and junior can connect in the same environment and do some code reviews on ongoing basis. Likewise, we have to change some internal practices accommodating how to fast track this development work, especially new guys. When the workforce change almost by 50% immediately, so how are you going to empower them? How are you going to educate them? How are you going to bring them into the company culture? So those are some of the challenges. But compared to other industries where physical presence is needed, our industry is managed to work without much impact. Only thing is customers, we might have to convince them to connect online, because you all know there are security challenges when you ask them to connect online in their servers, there are some challenges, especially banking industry, insurance industry and some other industries. So we have to work with them, educate the environment and agree on certain things and immediately start working with other clients, because most important thing is we didn't want to tell Sri Lanka can't support these regional customers. That is number one. So we educate all our senior management, support, do some extra work. You get close to these customers, give them a call, because if they feel okay, these guys are supporting from Sri Lanka and it is disconnected, that can have long-term impact to company as well as for the country. Because of that, we wanted to protect that, and I think we nicely managed during COVID. So if you look at our last 3 years numbers, year on year, we achieve a good growth, and that's how even during pandemic, we managed to list the company in Colombo Stock Exchange. That is one of the milestone, because that's where we got little stuck, because we were preparing the company for a listing. So then COVID start. So then you have to maintain your good numbers as well, profitability, EBITDA, everything. But we realize after a few months, we can manage the business and we can grow the business and complete physical sales activities. We completely move to digital, online marketing, online social media driven marketing, growth hack mechanism. So we have to educate our marketing force, sales force and other regional teams. So we educate them immediately and start moving our wheels, so that's what we did immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Jayasundara. I'll come back to your specific strategies at the next round, but I'm sure Professor Sisira Kumara has a different story to share, because we are coming from a state sector university which is run purely on treasury funds, public funds, and our intention was to produce graduates using public funds. In this particular context, I think we being a business management faculty had to experience these challenges in a different way. And even the Dean of the Faculty yesterday at the inauguration of the conference highlighted a couple of key challenges we have encountered. I'd like to invite Professor Sisira Kumara to elaborate a bit more on the specific challenges we experience as a business management faculty.
Thank you so much. Actually, our story is a bit different because we are involved in education business basically. As you all know, the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce University of Sri Jayawardhanapura is the largest business faculty in Sri Lanka. We are serving basically more than, say for example, 6,000 undergraduate internal students. Apart from, the internal undergraduate students, we have an array of postgraduate programs, and we have now external degree programs, and we have an array of the certificates and diploma programs as well. However, our basic focus is on our internal undergraduate program. It is our basic duty and it is our basic focus. Accordingly, we have 12, the internal degree programs being operated by the faculty, and they are being, operated by specialized, the departments, and we have, the specialized department, for all these purposes. And apart from these 12 departments, academic departments, we have 2 units, namely the business communication unit and legal studies unit. Altogether, we offer 300 course units. And basically, for all our degree programs, they are honors degree programs, and they are aligned with Sri Lanka qualification framework level 6, and we have a compulsory research component. At the same time, we have a compulsory internship program, part as well. When it comes to basic principles of higher education that we secure, that we take into account, basically the quality of the educational programs that we offer, and also the equal opportunity given for all our students. Now, they are basic, the principles of higher education. Now, so before the pandemic, actually, all our teaching learning activities now they were, they conducted on campus physically. So where we, meet the students physically on campus to do our teaching learning activities. Now, so as a, when the pandemic hit, now we couldn't meet our students physically, basically on campus. And so we now the basic issue is, so how we develop ICT based platform, so where we can meet our students virtually. Now it is our basic challenge. Now as you all know, so due to district basis, now we receive students from all districts. Now we have students from Colombo, we have students from Monaragal, and we have students from Jaffna. Now, as you all know, now in order to implement this kind of IT-based platform for online teaching and learning activities, we need to have 3 requirements basically. Number 1 is basic, the minimum requirement of electronic devices, either laptop or a smartphone or a desktop. And the second thing is, the internet connectivity, strong internet connectivity. And number 3 is basically very calm environment, so where they can study peacefully. Now these 3 requirements are needed. Now actually, so we are receiving students from several districts, and their social background, their home background, now they are different. Right? As some people, now they are well off, now they have everything at home. At the same time, certain students are there, they have a poor background. Now this is the basic thing, basic issue that we take into account when preparing this policy on online teaching and learning. Actually, from academics, the perspective also, in terms of IT literacy, now the certain academics are, now they are highly literate in terms of IT handling. And some other, the staff members are there, they are actually, their IT, the literacy level, so maybe moderate or low. So all these are there, now they are the issues, so basically we face at the beginning. At the same time, amidst all these, issues, we need to secure the quality of higher educational programs that we offer. At the same time, we need to treat our students equally. Equal opportunity should be provided to them. Right? So without, leaving behind anyone. At the same time, in order to initiate this kind of ICT-based online platform where students and lecturers can meet virtually, actually at the moment also we do not have a central unit, particularly for handling ICT-based activities. Luckily, we have the Department of Information Technology. Now it is one of our normal departments. Now they offer a BSc in Information Technology special degree program, honors program. Apart from their regular academic and research work, actually they need to take this, the responsibility of preparing, of initiating this ICT based, the platform for teaching and learning activities. So luckily now, so they are also having low amount of resources in terms of ICT toolkits and other things. However, the department is well equipped with academic members, and almost all the academic members actually they have PhDs and all. What we did, so basically I will discuss in the next round.
Right, thank you, Professor. Now from the round one, what we have tried to sort of come out is the industry-specific, organized-specific stories where we really understood the context-specific nature of the challenges we have encountered. And also some of you happen to elaborate briefly on the strategic approach you have taken as well. While you were talking about the context, I keep receiving a lot of questions from our online audiences. I'm sorry, my colleagues, I don't think we have time to accommodate all your questions. I'll try to put a couple of questions to the panelists if the time permits. They keep asking a lot of questions. Some of the answers I think they can find even from the nice case studies we have jointly written. And I'll at the next round, what I thought was to combine my intention of putting sort of strategies and the way forward, and round 2 and 3, I'll try to combine. And also, since Mr. Tissarachi wanted to make a move a little earlier, I'd like to sort of turn to you with what you said before. In terms of strategic approach you have taken, it was very interesting to see that, as I mentioned before, your strategic approach was driven by the visionary thinking of your leader. And he was very confident, as you said, that this can be managed because history repeats, and if something sort of could be managed in the past, another challenge which might take a different shape but can still be challenged. And also it seems that with what you have explained, you have taken some positive, progressive approaches. From all 6 panelists here, there's one thing I noticed, that you all have started with the right intention, good intention, to approach this problem, to develop solutions which benefits everyone. As the theme of the ICBM this time highlights, you were trying to establish a fair, equitable solutions amidst the challenges you have had. But at this round, I would like you to focus critically on the strategic approaches you have taken. Particularly at Dilma, you mentioned about taking care of your employees, factory workers, and you mentioned about taking care of the stakeholders worldwide. That was very interesting, and I think as a Sri Lankan organization, we are very proud of the strategy, the approach you have taken. Now, having adopted these different strategies, Mr. Tissarachi, have you experienced any type of challenges within the organization? Were there any tensions and did you experience any changes in the process you have adopted?
Yes, Doctor, I think it is natural as human beings that we are resistant to change.
Yes.
So it won't be not logical for me to say that there is no, even in our company or even our organization. Having said that, I must say that if we looked at, as I said, internal and external, we found it much easier to convince, to inform, to educate, and to convert our Sri Lankan brothers vis-a-vis some of the overseas people. So I don't know, it could be cultural issues, whatever, but we were more successful and getting responses more positively internally than externally. It took some time to motivate and move the rest of the world, as it were, towards our thinking. Could be for various reasons. So yes, to answer your question, were there challenges? There were challenges. For example, how do you automate a physical activity like the tea auctions? And I must give credit to the Ceylon Tea Traders Association and the Chamber of Commerce, who I think within 2 weeks automated, using our Sri Lankan software companies, the auction. So we have now and we continue with the e-auction. Then we have a person who works in our tea department as a tea specialist, who has worked his way up the ladder of the company, tasting thousands of cups of teas, going to the auctions and bidding physically and buying tea. And we had to tell him, from tomorrow, Mr. Fernando, Gunasri Fernando is his name, he's very proud of this story. You have to sit behind a computer and start buying tea on the auctions. Right? Even for a young person, this would be a challenge because you are trained, your mind is trained, your body is trained, your actions are trained on a particular format. And then overnight, you're told your job has changed, you have to sit behind a computer and now start bidding and buying tea. So, apart from getting used to the technology, as I mentioned in my previous slides, changing that mindset was a challenge. And there were many a times some of the very senior people would walk into our rooms and say, I don't know whether I can do this. You know, we used to buy tea, we used to talk to each other, we used to negotiate with other companies, and there was, personal, relationships, and that's all gone. And we are sitting behind a laptop and bidding for the auction. So there was a fair amount of, I won't say resistance, but there was a lot of, I would say, difficulty of understanding one's own self. And this came about in many ways. We have our offices in Australia and New Zealand, and suddenly we tell our field guys, look, you have to sit in the office and start contacting your customers on Teams or Zoom. And here are the guys who are for years, guys or girls, who have been physically meeting customers, right? And they were saying, how do we do this? So we had to prepare presentations, share it with them, take them to a training. Our partners who were distributors, we had to start once in 2 weeks, we had distributor webinars and trying to get people to see how we are launching a new tea product, but not really tasting it. And then we became a little smarter and we said, we'll send you the samples, and when we taste here, you taste there. So, it was a complete change. But I think it taught us, as I mentioned in the presentation, it taught us to rethink every single aspect of the business. And that's what we have taken as a learning and as we progress.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Sarachi. One last question before I let you go. Now, you happen to mention in your presentation that people are now interested in coming back to the office. Physical work is something that you find productive. Of course, we understand that with the manufacturing and plantation end of your value chain. Even at your office operations, why do you think that people prefer to come to office? Is it because the cultural element of your organization or the nature of the business?
Well, for sure, our environment and the cultural environment is suited more for a office environment. Very different to the IT companies.
Yeah.
In the case of most of the other departments, also very much, for example, we have a large team handling logistics, and they have to visit the ports, the airports, the customs, so those people also are required. In the case of marketing and sales, technically speaking, somebody would challenge you and say, can't you do it on Teams? But we have found out that when one is making presentations, sharing qualitative information, it's a big difference when you are doing it face to face rather than when you are doing it behind a screen. So these are the reasons, even though this is challenged a lot by my group finance director who says I can do all my numbers be on the screen, and because of you marketing guys I have to come to the office. So by and large we have adopted the fact that we are coming back to normal. To us was getting back everybody to office, for the simple reason that we feel that we work more efficiently and more effectively.
Thank you, Mr.
Sorry,
Raja.
I'd just like to end by thanking you, Dushan, for inviting me and our company, and it's to the university as a product of the Sri Lankan university system. It's always my privilege to share the experience. So I thank you very much for giving the opportunity, and if you don't mind, I'll be leaving right now.
That's perfectly all right, Mr. Roshan Tisarachi. Thank you for joining us and sharing your valuable thoughts. I'd like to now move on to the discussion I had with Dr. Lalit Veeragoda. In your presentation, initial discussion, you highlighted a couple of challenges you have experienced as a leading banking institute, and then as I remember, you were one of the first banks to come to our doorsteps as an immediate sort of helping arm with the financial sort of assistance with the people. And also in your case study, you have highlighted instigating touchless ATMs as one of the key strategies. I would like you to focus a little bit more on that and elaborate how you did that and what was the response of the market.
As a theme of the ICBM this time, equitable recovery, so I am going to explain you how we address issues of different segments. Number one is our team, 4,000 team. Actually, we took a hard decision. We need to ensure safety of our team, because banking is a bit different. Like when we compare other industry, we can't go for fully automation, and we need front office. We need to ensure front office, but we can automate back office function. Therefore, safety of our team is number one. Therefore, we have decided to ensure safety of our team, number one, and we ensure vaccination for our team members all, and I think successful almost 90%. And we introduced two models. One is work from home, second one is work from nearest branch. So team members who are working in a back office functions, we automated and we allow them to work from home. While they are work from home, they are working with the respective business units, and actually that is the business model we are going to introduce for the future. I am going to discuss that later. And for the health and well-being, actually we have invested over 250 million for our team members. Not only them, their families also we need to ensure well-being. So we invested for their family also. And the biggest issue we face, our engagement, as Dilma case. We have developed a new LMS. We have introduced virtual learning partner, and actually that is the time we prepare our team. Our learning hours significantly increase. We have developed different learning devices, different mechanisms for us to engage and increase their capacity. And if you go for the customer aspect, I think number one, we face a high number, the non-performing percentage high. Immediately what we did, we have with the support of the central bank, we have introduced new moratorium. Because we have all collaterals, but we need to help for the customers. You know, when we go for the moratorium, there's a provision that will definitely affect for the bottom line. So I'm very sincerely proud to tell you that we are the bank who give highest amount of moratorium. Over 200 billion we have given, because we wanted to ensure our customers survive at least this critical situation, especially for the tourism and SME sector. That is the heart of the economy. And number two, as you stressed that we realized that one of the critical source of contamination is currency. Our IT, you know that this fish market cluster, the root cause of the fish market cluster is currency. So we have developed a touchless banking mechanism within very short period. I think it's a 1 year project, but within 3 months we completed, and first time in the South Asian region we introduced. And number three, for the customer sector, you know, in Sri Lanka, even though IT penetration is, mobile phone penetration is high, people are reluctant to go for the online. I think it's a good time for the push people for this. We have upgraded our version, Sampath Vishwa and other modules, and we intensify communication and push people for the online mode. Now, our 98% of the financial transactions are online. I think we never come to the previous situation. And that's why I tell you, at the end of this crisis, we will be a different bank, and our front office will be a few members. So 98% of the transaction will do through online modes.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Veeragoda. Before I move on to the next speaker, I would like to invite Professor P.D. Nimal, the Dean of the Faculty, to offer a token of appreciation to Mr. Tissarachi, who is about to leave. We once again thank you, Mrs. Tissarachi, for being here and sharing your thoughts amidst your busy schedules. Let me now get back to the story of the public enterprise, Sri Lanka Ports Authority. As Mr. Veerasinghe mentioned, an organization that is highly unionized, partially politicized. Managing a crisis of this nature wouldn't be that easier. In your case study, you highlighted some of the structural, cultural and leadership related strategies that were put in place to manage these issues. And you highlighted some of the operational procedures you have established in terms of health, establishing health guidelines and guiding people to follow health guidelines. In terms of the structural and cultural aspects, what sort of changes you have initiated within the Ports Authority to manage the situation?
Leadership, as far as the leadership is concerned, that as a their chairman and few board of directors usually been appointed by the respective minister in charge, and usually the MD, the CEO, is usually a career officer who is going to be playing the leading role in most of the government organizations as well. This is applicable to SLP as well. So most of these officers who are going to that level have served the organization from management trainee level up to top level, so serving around 30 plus years of service. So that in turn, by their conduct and the way they meet people and they manage people from young age, so it is an opportunity for this career officer to build up the trust among the team players as well as the unions. So by name, the union leaders know how is this gentleman, whether he is a man who will sell this port or who is a man who will at least safeguard our interests. So the trust factor, so what we have learned in the university as well, is playing a very important role. So no leader can succeed if he is not in a position to build up the trust among his team, with the peers as well as your subordinates and the top, and of course with the stakeholders as well. In port is having a lot of stakeholders like importers, exporters, freight forwarding companies, logistic companies, shipping agents, shipping lines, even this modern information technology era, what you call virtual relationships, even not only the shipping agents now. Agents are now they are fighting now. Why? Because the shipping lines, their head officers can directly deal with us. Earlier, agents should be there to coordinate with the terminals and the port. Now they can straight away send their plans to our terminal planner and then do that. So we have to build up the trust throughout. The other one is the teamwork, because port is a vast place where you get 26 divisions. Although I am just a spokesman here, because although I am representing the core business of the port, core business in the port is the steward ordering function, where is the ship operations. The other one is the logistics, where the import-export handling and their deliveries and all that. And the other one is the navigation operation, where the harbour master is in charge. So his job is a supporting service. He has to bring the ship in, navigate the ships, and once it is completed, they have to sail it. So, but although these three core functions are happening, there are a lot of things happening, to support as supporting services. Like engineering services, you can't operate terminals without having a well-maintained equipments. In line with the technological developments. At the same time, IT system, the supplies and materials division, and even the human resources, as well as other finance and all that, for the give a lot of flexibility in arranging all these finances, and even to pay them their packages and all that, So it was a challenge for us. So through this, our main strategy actually to build up the trust that has been there for a long period of time. So we have made a very strategic decision at the outset. We are not going to deprive our team any of their privileges. If we are started trying to cut their overtime or the general allowances that they used to get, because some of them are not coming every day, some of them are, we allow them to go a little early, sometimes they have to continue and stay home longer period. So that is where all these, the trust, as we were able to keep them, develop the trust up to a great extent. So then they knew, these officers and all this management wants to get ourselves involved to make things happen, rather than, to keep us away and try to deprive of our benefits. So that trust took take us a long way. The other one is, we have, we see that our trade unions are very strong. So strategically we made it an opportunity to outsource some of our jobs. Whereas under normal circumstances, they don't have agreed at all. There will be a trade union action also, maybe strikes, led to strikes. So this 14 days and 7 days work had forced us to engage more people for cranes. Whereas I told you already, explained that about 30% of the equipment were unmanned, because the existing people we manned for the cranes. So we negotiated with the unions and tell, sorry, just because we are giving opportunity for you to do this, we can't deprive our customers, we can't delay the ships. So please don't object to it. We will go for an outsourcing model for the balance work.
Mr. Veerasinghe, if I may interrupt you, now that things have been put in place and people can see the outcome of those situationally adapted strategies, how do trade unions respond to this? How do they now say it?
Yeah, because there are a few other things as well other than the pandemic. But now trade unions, now they believe the model that is more workable. Now they can have free time also. Earlier we used to force them to come on holidays and even poor days. Now they think even they don't come, people maybe the outsourcing, apply more drivers and few crane operators, they will cover up their work. So that's how they synergize, actually. Synergize the operation aspects and the fear was not more, because they know that they will never be able to invade to their jobs. They are very small, about 10-15% of people, so they won't be able to do a big change here. So that's it has come to stay actually. So that is one of the good outcomes that we have had now. And the other thing is actually that we made it an opportunity to train and further develop our team and improve our terminal management systems, because it has been lagging behind for a certain period of time. So since the activities were lower and people have more time to concentrate on this development rather than doing their regular jobs, so we were able to implement most of the outstanding modules of our terminal management system through that. So that is also because they can't come, the trainers, they are not in a position to come all the way from US. We have a US system, terminal management system, upgraded version. So they are not in a position to come here because of COVID. But we introduce online, right? So online system where my previous officer was reluctant to do. So he was maintaining the practically impossible. How can you introduce a new system without online training? But we went for that. So there are pioneers, also young people are here with me, my officers. So that was also some kind of a, the positive outcome that we were able to achieve.
Thank you, Mr. Veera Singh. It seems that certain things have come as blessing in disguise. Good on you. And I'd like to now get to Mr. Namal Peris, who happened to share an interesting insight in terms of managing the post-COVID situation at different stages, immediate aftermath of the crisis, and then in the long run. In your case study, it was quite interestingly highlighted sort of CSR strategy as a way of helping and taking care of the stakeholders. I'd like you to sort of reflect on your experience of this CSR strategy, and do you think you can still, or you have to still practice the same strategy in managing your organization?
This CSR is part of our organization from its inception.
Right.
I think it came from our the founder chairman, late Mr. Norman Virusuriya. So it was in there, and every year that is a very significant portion of our business plan. So it was there, and there we, in our social, responsibility CSR, corporate social responsibility segment, we looked at our own employees, then the people around us, and people who interact with us during our business. So we had different programs. The one unique program is, being a construction company, every year we wanted to help our employees to put up their houses. So whoever it was limited to the worker category who can't afford to have their own houses easily. So whoever who has a plot of land and doesn't have a house, they can apply. So we have a particular budget. Then we send our engineers around to see whether this plot of land is genuinely theirs, and whether they are in need of a house, all that, and we select about 25 to 30 people among our lower cadres, and we help them to put up their houses, and our engineers voluntarily looked at their construction, helped them, monitored regularly, and made sure the funds which we disburse for this CSR project is put into good use. But still, for all, we are continuing. That is one CSR project. Another one is, we have a separate accommodation block which we have built right next to Apeksha Cancer Hospital. There again we have been doing a lot of work in the cancer hospital itself for these linear accelerators. Then we realized the need where a lot of people bring in patients from faraway places for certain treatments where they have to stay here. The patient and the accompanying person has to stay here for a week or a few days, and they can't find places. So we set up 35 room fully furnished accommodation where the patient will be held in the hospital, and the accompanying person can stay here, and meals are provided free of charge, all free of charge, but the facility will be provided on the recommendation of the doctors. So that is continuing, and to tell you, we are getting lot of sponsorships, so it is now more or less, it is self-sustained, and we don't have to do much rather than maintaining the place and making sure that the...
Mr. Peris, if I am to, interrupt you at this point, now these sort of CSR initiatives, do you think is still... should still be a priority of your organization given the economic circumstances, or is that a possibility?
No, it's like this. If we look at the purpose of our business, if you go through our case study, you will see why we do business. So we do business to improve the quality of life of our people. Our people in the sense our employees, our shareholders and our suppliers, our customers. So to do that, the most vulnerable people should be looked after. So even if we do business without achieving what we are looking for, I don't think there's a meaning in our business. So that is how we looked at it, and we are construction people, engineering people, so we are going to planning. I mean, we don't do anything without plans. We have long, elaborate plans done in Primavera, Microsoft projects. So even finances we plan, so every year in the business plan, that portion is kept to a side so that it is being continued.
Right, thank you, Mr. Namal. And my last question to you is on the futuristic view of your organization. Now that you survived through the challenges of the COVID-19 and you have the human resource supply to work on your projects, I'm sure organization in the construction industry, as you mentioned before, adversely affected by the economic crisis. What do you think is the way forward?
So economic crisis hit harder than the COVID crisis. I will tell you the truth. We recovered from the COVID very fast, and I mean whatever, everything came to normal within within a very short period. And the good practices we tried, we are continuing, and certain practices, as our colleagues said, we revert back. So we selected what suits us the most. But economic situation hit us really hard. There again, it was in stages. Initially, when the government didn't have forex, they restricted the import of materials. So we had the scarcity and very hard to find our raw materials. Then the prices went up. Then we had to talk to our customers and have a dialogue with them how to cater for this unprecedented price increases. So when we were going in, then the dollar was let go, and the dollar went up, and there was a huge crisis. There were orders on the way, orders which had been placed before, orders which came and waiting for this 180-day credit period. So it made havoc in the system. And while all this happening, the last one was the government declared bankruptcy, and the government projects were suspended, and there our order book also shrank, and the payments which were due to us were not settled by the government. So
I think we are also in the list.
Yeah. So one after the other, I mean, it was really hitting us hard. But I think with these things, we selected what were the mistakes we did and how we have to adjust ourselves to move forward. One thing is, like I think someone said, there's a silver lining in the dark skies. So similarly, when the import restrictions are put in place, then only realize we had many local products which we have been catering only our consumption. Now this precast system, initially it was done for our own projects because we couldn't beat the prices of steel sections which were brought in. So suddenly dollar went up, the restrictions on imports, so we had a market. So we diverted our efforts into that area, and we had another green boards which we produce out of paddy straw. So the gypsum imports were slashed. Then we had opportunity to improve on our Dura boards, we call it, made out of paddy straw. So there was so our efforts and our focus were, we managed to divert to the areas where we have a edge over the others. At the same time, I think in 2009 we made this mistake. We were well established in Middle East countries, Maldives, then the war came to an end, the country was booming, and we were thinking why we waste time in other countries, why pull everything back here when this is prospering, we brought them back. Now we are square one and we don't know what to do. Again, we are looking at those places, talking to the people we have been working with, and so now we have understood, we have realized even in the markets we must have the right portfolio. I mean, as one says, the grandmother puts eggs not in one basket, so that we are strictly following. So we are already started few projects in Maldives and trying to do something in Saudi Arabia. So that was discussed, and other thing with this crisis situation, it didn't strike right across the profile. The big players in the construction industry who have not geared themselves much were in a better place than the smaller players. Smaller players were, their finance were geared. So with these interest hikes and the government not paying their dues, so most of them had to cease their operations. So there there was a vacuum created where we had to look at where we have not been looking at earlier, the middle level projects. So we had to get our system adjusted so that always we have been doing mega projects. Now we have to have smaller teams to do smaller projects. So the sizing also, we saw an opportunity and we have got ourselves adjusted, and the product wise we adjusted, size wise we adjusted, and the market wise also we adjusted. So I think that is what we learned from this crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Willis, for interesting story. Let's hope things will fall in place sooner than later. And I'd like to ask Mr. Sampath Jayasundara, in your earlier discussion you mentioned that as one of the strategies you were trying to be more connecting with your stakeholders because your experience of the impact was quite different and you were easily sort of changing from work from office to work from home option, and the impact was slightly different as you experienced. So while elaborating on this connecting more with the stakeholders, would you like to elaborate also on your future directions?
Yeah. So at the very beginning, when COVID started, so we had to work on strategies on 3 different areas. One on our people, employees. On the other hand, external stakeholder, that is our customer and partners. Third angle, product, because there were a lot of opportunities for new innovation on product line. So if you touch the first 2 areas, customer engagement, as some of the panelists mentioned, some of the industries got really affected, like tourism. So we had to work with them, and even we give them some discounts, because even the infrastructure on cloud. So you had to do dollar payments, but how to compensate them, for longer term retention. Because we believe retention is more important than quick bucks. So we had to work with these customers and agree on certain arrangements and retain them for a longer term journey. Because our overall churn is actually less than 3% overall, so we want to continue that journey. So we start communicating. On the other hand, most importantly, we handle people's salaries. We pay 1 million people's salaries at the moment. So it's very critical during difficult time how to make sure salary goes on time to people's hand. So we internally had a discussion with our stakeholders, internal employees, and we educate them. Now let's say you guys are getting the salary on time, how important you guys work together as a team to make sure your customer salary is also paid on time. So that education matters a lot. At the same time, internally we realize when the guys are very young crowd, our average age is roughly around 26. So they are just after university life. So we educate our supervisors, our middle managers, how to work with these young guys. Because they might like to go to office and have a chat and go out and have dinner, lunch, and that experience is missing, especially for newcomers. So we ask them to engage with new guys and build some relationship, because what everybody mentioned, trust is very critical. You have to build trust. So while building trust, we gave flexibility. That is what is important. So one side you are building trust. On the other hand, we gave them flexibility, so they also manage their own work. Simple example, if husband and wife both are working, so how to balance the other activities, kids activities. So we encourage them because we introduce flexi hours, so they can work anytime. Weekly workload, if they can deliver within the week, we don't have any issue. Otherwise projects are getting delayed and so many other issues so we encourage to work together. Obviously then the third angle, product angle, I cover the stakeholder management part first. So there were so many opportunities for new innovation. So we ask people to come up with new innovative product and solutions. And that's where even to improve the productivity, because your margins are going down, so we have to introduce some intelligent automation to handle some of the work done by engineers to machines. So then we can bring down the cost and maintain our margins. So those are some of the innovation. And then even the embedded solution face recognition machine or the finger scan can capture the temperature of employee and directly pass that information back to management or the HR department. Likewise, there are so many new areas we introduce, and even analysis, data-driven analytics. So we introduce different analysis for companies to make use of these analytics to treat their employees better. And so those are some of the strategies we implement. I think outcome is successful. That's why so we manage to retain our customers locally as well as globally. And because end of the day, as a country struggling for dollar, it's important bring dollar to our country as well, so we are in that journey. So same time we are trying to minimize our risk factor. We start our Bangladesh operation. We build a technical team in Bangladesh as well, because we realize now as a global company, it's very important for us to minimize our risk as well as organization. So now we have a second development and technical center based in Dhaka, but Colombo is a priority, so our 90% staff, the engineering activities happening from Colombo. But your alternate center, if any disaster, any environment, still we can actually run the global operation. So that's how some of the strategies implemented. At the same time, as I earlier told you, immediately move to digital strategies how to engage with customer, how to do sales, awareness sessions, webinars, even other social media tools even TikToks, so how to educate, because end of the day, we have to use most of these social tools, for the benefit of the organization and society. So that's what we start doing. That, even we use some of these tools as the internal engagement tool with employees.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Jayasundara. Before I move on to the last panelist, I know the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, which I'm also part of, we went through a very rigorous process of developing an ICT-based learning and teaching solution, because it clearly focused on the teaching part, learning of the students, and the assessments. Since our case study has an elaborated account of the process we went through, I would like you to focus on the reflections of what we did, because we as an academic institute try not to sort of do something and continue to do it without having a critical look at of what we have implemented, because how the stakeholders seek the benefit of it and way forward. I think we did post-research and also pre-research on the effectiveness of the approach we have taken. While briefly elaborating on the process we have taken, Professor Isra, I would like you to focus more on the lessons learned from the approach we have adopted.
Actually, we tried to come up with a evidence-based policy on online modes for this teaching and learning activities. So initially we conducted a population survey without going for a sample survey, because we learned that the sample survey does not work in this kind of a situation, because as I mentioned earlier, equal treatment for every student is our priority. We need to ensure that no one is leaving behind the process. So our population survey basically revealed that actually the 66% of our student population, they have a laptop or a desktop at home. At the same time, the 32% of our student population, now they have access to a broadband data connection at home, and majority of them are having a smartphone. Now, a smartphone is having for majority of. Actually, our approach is totally participatory. We invited our student union. We had several special faculty board meetings to discuss all these things in front of our academic members. And initially we developed a system for online teaching, Zoom-based online teaching. Now it is a real-time lectures. We conduct a real-time lectures for the students who are having the necessary equipments and necessary broadband connection. Now they could participate in this online, the real-time lectures. At the same time, we recorded all these sessions and we converted them into YouTube videos, and the YouTube link, the web link, we uploaded on the LMS, so that even later on, the students who are unable to participate online, especially in real-time lectures, now basically they could download those videos and they can watch even later on. We developed actually the online examination. It has been a very difficult task for us, because before the pandemic actually we used to conduct all these examination and assessments in a supervised, completely supervised environment. But so during the pandemic we could not do that. Therefore we developed actually we evaluated 3 options for evaluation purpose: the online real-time examination, online supervised examination, and online unsupervised examination. 3 options we critically evaluated in order to take a decision. Actually, so due to resource constraints and poor, the broadband connections in some areas, and the signal strength, the variation of signal strengths of some areas, rural areas, we decided to conduct all these examination in an unsupervised mode, or the unsupervised online examination. So, however, we tried our level best to maintain or mitigate some examination misconduct. We took some precautionary measures to do that. Initially, in advance, basically we uploaded our password protected examination papers on LMS. Then the password was communicated to the students via SMS on the examination date. So, for example, before half an hour. Then they were supposed to have their examination papers, open the examination papers, and write answers on their own papers. Then we were trained to scan those answer scripts and put date stamp and say for example GPS coordinates, because so that we wanted to ensure that they were not gathering together right answers, right? Now this kind of precautionary measures we took at least, so under this unsupervised mode. And the supervisors, examination supervisors was supposed to, to ensure the correctness of the answer scripts, and they did the DVD writing, and they used Google sharing options for the purpose of sharing these the examination papers among examiners. And marking was done completely electronically. The marking, the first marking, second markings, basically they were done So the first marking and second marking, so basically, they were done electronically. Basically the examiners were trained to do marking, on the PDF question, the answer scripts. Now actually we conducted several training programs in order to train our staff members, train our students and administrative officers on this online, the teaching, learning and assessment methods. Basically for students actually we provided step-by-step guide for examination. Now they were trained to, they have date stamp and GPS coordinates on their, the scan answer scripts. and they were trained to, upload their answer scripts correctly on LMS. Now we basically launched some instructional videos on LMS so that they could watch them and learn how to do these things. Before the real examination, actually, we conducted some mock examination to train them on these evaluation techniques. At the same time, with the help of the Department of Information Technology of the faculty, we conducted several training programs aimed at our academic staff as well. Actually, they were trying to use, the Zoom lectures, YouTubing, online evaluation. Now, on these themes, actually, we conducted some training, the programs aiming at our academic staff also, with the help of the Department of Information Technology. So these are the basic things we did in response to the COVID-19.
Right, thank you. Before concluding the session, since we are behind the schedule, I don't think we can accommodate many questions, but if the audience who are physically present here, if you have any quick questions, 1 or 2 questions, I'm happy to direct them to the panelists. Right, okay, then silence is always going to be interpreted in our favor. Just to conclude the thoughts we have shared during the last 100 or so minutes, we have heard stories of 6 different industries, 6 different organizations. What we mostly see is that you seem to have interpreted or identified the challenges in a very context-specific manner and made attempt to develop very authentic homegrown solutions to see how far they would help you in navigating your organization through the challenges. In doing so, you seem to have put in a lot of efforts, going through maybe hardships, and with that, of course, you now experiencing the downturn of the economy. The learnings of the post-COVID situation, some of the learnings might help, some might not, but still, we as an academic institute, research-focused academic institute, would like to engage in maybe research if that's one of the options you're considering. And we are going to broadly discuss the case studies we have presented with our academic audiences and try to come up with solutions, and maybe we can have more practical solution-based discussions with the outcome of our discussions maybe later. And on behalf of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, and also the ICBM Organizing Committee and the Business Forum Organizing Committee, as the moderator of the session, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to all the panelists for making time to attend this session amidst your busy schedules and sharing your genuine stories with an open mind. Thank you, and we wish every one of you good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, finally, at the end of a few very fruitful hours, where many interesting and very intriguing set of thoughts have been discussed and circulated, we have finally come to the closure of the Business Forum 2022, organized in line with the 19th International Conference on Business Management, ICBM 2022. I think the panelists and the moderator, ladies and gentlemen, deserve another big round of applause from all of us for the excellent job that they have done today here in engaging us with a very interesting few hours. So before we let you go, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have prepared some tokens of appreciation for our panelists and our moderator for the day. To do the honors, may I cordially invite Professor P.D. Nimal, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, who will be accompanied by Dr. Janaka Fernando and Dr. Pratap Kalutantri, the co-chairs of ICBM 2022. May I have Dr. Lalit Veragoda, Chief Human Resource Officer of Sampath Bank PLC, to please step forward and receive this token of appreciation, please. Mr. Namal Piris, Chief Executive Officer, International Construction Consortium. Mr. Lal Veerasinghe, Director Port Operations, Sri Lanka Ports Authority. Mr. Sampath Jayasundara, Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director, Sanid Business Solutions Limited. And of course, our very own Professor M.H.A. Sisirakumara, Professor of Department of Public Administration, Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Last, but definitely not the least, Dr. Dushan Javikrama, who engaged us in a very fruitful, interesting conversation all throughout during these few hours. Senior Lecturer, Department of Marketing Management, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And with that note, to officially give away the vote of thanks in marking the conclusion of today's agenda, may I have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Rumini Dharmavardhana, Committee Member of Business Forum 2022. Over to you, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of the agenda, but an event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling months in advance. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of self-motivated and dedicated staff and students. On behalf of the entire team, I express my heartfelt thanks to Professor P.D. Nimal, the Dean of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, Professor Sumudu Pereira, the Coordinator of the Business Forum, and Dr. Pratap Kalutantri, Dr. Janaka Fernando, the co-chairs of the ICBM 2022. Distinguished guests, no discussion or debate can be conducted without panelists. On behalf of the university, I express my gratitude to all the panelists of the Business Forum. Dr. Lalit Veragoda, Chief Human Resource Officer of Sampath Bank, Mr. Roshan C. Tisarachi, Director of Dilwat Ceylon Tea Company, Mr. D.L.R. Veerasinghe, Director Operations, Sri Lanka Ports Authority, Mr. Namal Piris, Chief Executive Officer of the International Construction Consortium Private Limited, Mr. Sampath Jayasundara, Chief Executive Officer, H. Senate Business Solutions, Professor M.H.A. Sisirakumara, Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, and Dr. Dushan Jayavikrama, the moderator of the Business Forum. At the same time, my thanks go to all the deans of the other faculties of the university, heads of the departments, academic and non-academic staff, sponsors, and the committee of the Business Forum for making this event a memorable one. Ladies and gentlemen, if time is money, then today you have spent millions for us. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you very much for your words, Dr. Rooney. And with that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have officially come to the conclusion of the Business Forum 2022, and this marks the conclusion of the closure of the 19th International Conference on Business Management ICBM 2022, organized by the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Before we conclude, we would like to convey our thanks to the wonderful audience who have joined with us today, both in person as well as those of you who have been watching us since yesterday via Zoom and live via YouTube. You all have been interesting and very enthusiastic to engage with. So after successful few technical sessions, the PhD Colloquium, and finally the Business Forum, ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to mark the conclusion of the 19th ICBM. Before we wind up, may I please request all of you to please rise for the national anthem. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And for all our in-house participants, we would like to invite you to please enjoy the refreshments as you move outside, served right outside the hall. And to all of you, we wish a very good night until we meet again with the 20th ICBM in 2023. Signing out for tonight, I'm Sandhuni Senaratna. Take care and have a great night, everyone. Thank you.